Welcome back to the Humble Marksman channel, the only gun channel on YouTube dripping with that BDE. That's right, Big Dad Energy. If you taught your kids the doorknob game simply to teach them not to break wind at the dinner table, then go ahead and hit that like button. Yes, that actually happened. I'm David, and this is the Aimpoint Acro P2. So for a couple years now, all of the Tacta bros have been ranting and raving about the enclosed emitter optics and what it means. And I've done a bunch of other videos on other optics in the segment, and the Acro P2 is held up as like the gold standard for what's required from an enclosed emitter optic. From an actual like quality standpoint, it's actually probably one of the nicest sights, if not the nicest in the segment. That said, it's got some quirks to it on how they kind of chose to design the thing that I think makes it a little bit less than ideal for most concealed carry applications, but we'll get into all of that. So the big advantage of the P2 over the P1 Acro is the fact that it takes a CR2032 battery. The old Acros took a weird battery that burned out really quickly in always on type applications. They learned their lesson and fixed that, and that was the large change that took place with the P2 sight. And that is a very welcome addition because nobody likes changing batteries all the time. The adjustment of the dot intensity takes place also on the left side of the optic body, with the plus being in the up position, minus being in the down position. The elevation and windage adjustments are accomplished via a Torx bit, which is kind of new. I hadn't seen a Torx bit on any other optics. There's one on the right side and one on the top of the optic. Now that said, the elevation and windage adjustment is the most precise. Previously, the Delta Point Pro had the most precise and tactile adjustments on it. The Acro is actually even better on how those click. Like the clicks are there is no mistaking it when you're dialing in a click. It's not like, was that a click or not? No, you know exactly what's going on as you zero the optic, and that's very welcome. The aesthetics of it, I mean, it's a mailbox on top of your gun. Like it's like an old AOL email box, you know, you've got mail. The aesthetics are going to offend a lot of people greatly. Like some people just got used to the look of a reflex sight on top of guns, and now they look like mailboxes and just can't get on board with it. That said, they also affect your concealability with a dot gun. So if you're riding on an inside the waistband holster with a reflex sight that kind of stops right around there, it's going to be real close to your belt line and doesn't create any more printing by basically carrying this up to right here. This will poke through your shirt more than likely, even more than the rear of the slide will. At least that has been my experience carrying it. But all of the advantages of an enclosed optic are that you don't get like t-shirt lint on the back side of the lens that's really tough to get out. Like the back lens right here, you can just wipe off with your t-shirt and it's super duper clean. That's actually a feature that I really do like about the enclosed emitter optics. But also if you're shooting outdoors in like a raining situation with the gun in your holster and stuff like that, you're not gonna have the dot break up on drops of water and have like, you know, a billion dots. You would just have the one dot like you always have, plus drops of water that you can look through. For you roll around in the mud types, you also won't get dirt inside there or potentially in the emitter window to potentially make the dots not work. So that's the big offering that it makes these things attractive. Talking about the glass and the emitter, the clarity on the glass is brilliant, and the emitter is a 3.5 MOA optic. I would prefer a larger dot for a pistol application, but you know, the tactical community is convinced that, you know, 2 to 3 is the right size. So a sight for the tactical community makes sense that they would put it in 3.5 MOA. Now, some of the weirdness about the sight, getting into that, is that the sight, it has a very small window. It has like an RMSC footprint optic sized window. It's just not a lot to look through. And so if this is going on like a range gun or something like that, then what you're going to end up doing is having a super small window. It's going to feel like you're looking through, like you just make your hand real small. That's kind of what it's like looking through it, because the shroud all the way around the window on the Acro it's pretty big. I mean, it creates sort of a tunnel vision effect. Like kind of the nice thing about a reflex sight is that you have a hard target focus, and then it just basically everything falls away except for the target and this little red orb that kind of moves from target to target with you. It's tougher to create that situation with a large, very prominent shroud, and this gun, it just has a very large prominent shroud. It just kind of is what it is with these enclosed emitter optics. Now, I bought this optic. I bought it, I don't even remember where I bought it from, but it was about $600, which is about the going rate for these things. And yeah, I know it's a lot of money. If you study sort of industrial design and all this kind of stuff, there is the concept of waste, and over delivering on value is actually a form of waste. If you make something so high quality that the end user absolutely just can't get the value from, like Does this need to be $600, and does it need to be as overbuilt and overdesigned as it is? Probably not. There are cheaper enclosed emitter optics that do pretty much all the same stuff at lower price points and are similarly robust. So having it be just whatever this is, I think is probably a little bit of overkill. Like, I feel like the value for what this sight represents is not good because it costs $600. And there are sites that are commonly available for $400 or $500 that are doing the same thing as this. It's just very difficult to make that value proposition beyond the brand name that's on the side of it up to that $600 price point. And then my other concern about the optic is because of how it mounts. It mounts with kind of a claw onto like a rail type section for a plate. It has its own optic cut, the Acro optic cut or whatever. There are plates available for basically all the optic guns. The problem with plate guns is that you got to put a plate down there and it lifts the optic up out of the cut. And as we previously mentioned, that bezel around the glass is very high, so it ends up lifting the window up over the slide a pretty good piece. And that's, I mean, I don't prefer that. I like the glass to basically be as close to the top of the slide as possible, so the dot can be closer to the bore as possible, so you don't get into mechanical offset type stuff. That's not a major concern, but shooting a dot that co-witnesses with stock irons is generally going to be a little bit easier than shooting one where you have to get like suppressor height sights, and you absolutely would. The sights on this Scorpion do not co-witness through the lens. But it is like, I have a hard time communicating this to you as you mount the optic on the gun. It is the highest quality sight that I believe I have. Like, it's as good or more than the other optics that I've messed around with. And at this point, that's most of them. So that is the Aimpoint Acro P2. It is, in my opinion, it's a very, very good sight, but it's also kind of a flex. Like, people who have staccatos and like posting pictures of staccatos on Instagram love this sight. And it is a bomb-proof duty sight. So it absolutely makes sense in that application. For a concealed carry type application, I think that there are sights that are sufficient quality that cost less than this one that do all of the same stuff. So that is the Aimpoint Acro P2. Feel free to yell and throw darts at me in the comments. I certainly appreciate it, and I will catch you guys on the next one. Thanks, guys.